This video is about using the equation kinetic energy equals a half times mass times velocity squared. Remember that velocity is equivalent to speed. It's the vector version of speed. I can rewrite this equation using symbols to make it simpler for me. So kinetic energy will be KE, then a half, times mass, which will just be m, and then times velocity squared, which will be v. Sometimes we even leave the times signs out. This is an example of a grade 4 question involving kinetic energy. A car of mass 1200 kilograms, I can tell its mass, it's got kilograms, is travelling at 12 meters per second. So that must be the velocity, the speed, because it's measured in meters per second. What is the kinetic energy? The first thing I have to do is identify the equation that I'm going to use. Well, that will be kinetic energy equals a half times the mass times the velocity squared. Then I need to identify the numbers to put into that equation. So a half remains as a half, multiplied by the mass. We've established that that is 1200 kilograms. I can tell because of the unit, and then multiplied by the velocity here, meters per second means it's velocity, the velocity squared. So then we start to simplify. And the first simplification I'm going to do is work out 12 squared, and then I'm going to put that all in my calculator and find the answer. And the answer is 86400 joules. This is a more tricky question because we're working out the velocity, and if you remember from the equation, the velocity is squared. So this equation is probably more grade 6, grade 7 even. Again, what I'm going to do is write the equation. So kinetic energy equals a half times the mass times the velocity squared. Then I'm going to find the numbers that I need. So I have kilograms here, so I need the number 1.8 for my mass, and I have the value there of the energy. I can tell because it's in joules. So I'll put the energy in, 14.4, and that is equal to a half times the mass, which is 1.8, times the velocity squared. I don't know it, so I will leave it as a v. Now I will start to simplify. Half times 1.8, I can put that in my calculator or do it in my head. I know that that is 0.9. Multiplied that by the velocity squared. I've done nothing with the energy, so I'll leave that as 14.4. Now I need to have this all on its own, so now I'm going to do the rearranging by dividing both sides by the 0.9. So I'm going to have 14.4 divided by 0.9 is equal to my velocity squared. So the velocity squared is going to be equal to 16. Now, in order to get the velocity on its own, I will need to take the square root, because I am wanting to undo the squared. So the opposite operator from a squared is a square root. So I will need to do square root, and that is going to be 4 meters per second.